The dry season has come like a death sentence from the sky, bringing with it a series of merciless, scorching days. Rivers have dried to the bottom, grasslands have been parched like paper, and every creature, from the weakest to the most powerful, has been forced into a desperate fight for survival. There are no more choices, no more time for hesitation. Every drop of water is a battle. Every step is a gamble between life and death. In this harsh land, survival is not for the lucky, but only for those who dare to risk their lives to survive until tomorrow. Welcome to the Mara Death Zone. Pass or perish. When the dry season begins, it not only dries up rivers and streams, it also suffocates hope. Every creature, from gentle grazers to ancient predators, enters a brutal phase of survival where only the fittest survive. Zebra and wildebeest, Africa's most resilient nomads, are forced to cross the fateful river. Hundreds of thousands of wildebeest and zebra head north through parched grasslands, scorching deserts, and the Mara River, where one wrong move could wipe out the herd. And today is the fateful day. The strongest will lead. The weakest calves will swim their way through the treacherous waters. The ancient crocodiles wait beneath the mirror-like surface. Not all will survive to see the sunset. Beneath the swirling brown water, motionless monsters have been lying in ambush for days. They don't need to hunt. They just need to wait. The crocodiles, the gatekeepers of nature, have been hungry for a year. And today, they feast. The zebras have survived here. They know whoever dives first will pay the price. So, they slow down to let the wildebeests go first. The panic, the crowds, the reckless. The crowds create chaos. Chaos creates victims. The sound of hooves hitting the water echoes in the sky. The red waves spread out. One, then two, then dozens, knocked down in midstream. But crocodiles are just the tip of the danger. The Mara River is not simply a stream, but a natural trap camouflaged by a false stillness. Below, the swift current hides like a silent knife, waiting for a moment of carelessness to knock down anyone who dares to cross. The delicate, fragile young are swept away like small leaves in the whirlpool. They struggle, call out, but only the sound of the water drowns them all. The mothers turn their heads to pull their children back, but the water is too strong, and the herd behind them does not give them a choice. The sound of hooves beating chaotically, the sound of splashing water, all blend into a chaotic symphony. There is no room for hesitation. Each panicked step, each violent collision causes many individuals to collapse right in the middle of the stream. The frail body was swept away, crushed, buried in a sea of water and hooves. In that moment, the Mara River was no longer a river, but a maze of whirlpools, where the instinct to survive overcame everything else. Under the crisp golden sunlight of the afternoon, When the Mara's surface had temporarily become calm, the herd had retreated, but the riverside land had never been so peaceful. There was no more hooves, no more cries, only a distinctive musty smell wafting through the wind, a smell that opportunistic hunters could smell from miles away. Those who had never appeared in times of danger were now moving in, unhurried, unafraid. From high in the sky, slowly swirling scavengers appeared, circling like ghosts who knew this moment would come. They did not need to rush. They just needed to wait, as they had done for generations. As their great wings spread across the sky, vultures, eagles, and other scavengers began to land, one by one, silently. They came not to fight, but to make use of every last scrap of the mad river crossing. On the ground, another force was also quietly approaching. African wild dogs, with their keen sense of smell and skillful pack tactics, had been following the trail since before dawn. They did not need to witness the river crossing, because just by smelling the wind, they knew what was waiting ahead. And then, the division of paths began. The animal carcasses scattered along the riverbank became the reward for the patient. When the blood had washed away from the Mara River and the last hoofs had died away in the parched plains, another nightmare had begun. But this one was no more peaceful. It was a realm of frustration, of cracks, of despair. The dry season had come, and it brought not hot winds, but the shrinking of an entire ecosystem. Most of the rivers had disappeared, leaving only a few small pools of water that dozens of species were forced to share, even though no one really wanted it. And in that pool, a creature was quietly emerging, not to hunt, but to control. The half-aquatic, half-terrestrial hippos had nowhere to hide, nowhere to go. They were trapped between their own kind, their enemies, and themselves. The water receded, and with it, patience dwindled. In the scorching heat of the dry season, when every drop of water became a vital asset, the first clashes began. And then, when the space was already suffocatingly narrow, a stranger appeared. No one knew where it came from, but that amidst the cracked earth and scorching sun, it was approaching, step by step. A strange hippo, sweat mixed with dust, its eyes fixed on the water as if it were its last chance to survive. But here, survival depended not only on the water, but also on the will of the one who ruled it. The faint sound of the water was enough to make the alpha male hippo raise his head. It did not need to look long to know. The approaching person was a threat, not because of its strength, but because of its presence, because of its desire to stay. In a world shrunken by drought, a strange gaze could also spark an explosion, and now, the inevitable confrontation was quietly being lit, just below the seemingly peaceful surface. It won. Again, but What did that victory really bring? The alpha male still controlled the waters, but at the cost of silent days of wasting away. There was no clear opponent, but there was an invisible enemy. Heat, disease, hunger, and time. The hippopotamus that once ruled the swamp had to learn to be silent before nature. Because in the wild, power is temporary, but adaptation is permanent. And sometimes, what seemed like victory was simply a brief respite before the next harsh test. In another hemisphere, as the sun rises over the mossy trees, another stage quietly unfolds where every movement is watched from beneath the water. Welcome to the Louisiana swamps where danger does not rush, but waits. No hoofbeats, no screams, no thousand-strong migrations, just an eerie silence where any vibration on the water's surface could be the last sign of a creature about to disappear. Here, the rulers need neither run nor chase. They are the ultimate ambush hunters, the short-snouted alligators, born to hide and strike silently. Although related to the common crocodile, this species has evolved independently for 80 million years. The quickest way to tell them apart is by looking at their expressions. The snout of the short-snouted crocodile is more closed, revealing only its upper teeth. Every spring, these giants enter a reproductive battle. At the end of May, mating season is coming to an end, and each male has only one last chance to attract a mate. A male crocodile roars loudly, his call echoing nearly 2 kilometers across the swamp, attracting the attention of females ready to mate. If successful, he will father a litter of up to 50 young. But the challenger has arrived. In the world of crocodiles, sexual competition can be bloody. The loser will not only lose a mate, but also his life. His future mate is watching from afar, seems to be attracted, but if this male doesn't chase away his rival, this love affair will be short-lived. Eventually the rival gives up, but the victory comes at a price. A seemingly insignificant wound on the neck hides danger. Swamp water is full of bacteria, some of the most dangerous on the planet. In the blink of an eye, billions of bacteria flood into the body through an open wound. They can cause sepsis in humans, and their numbers double every 20 minutes. Now, you have to avoid contact with water and raise your body temperature to activate your immune system. Otherwise, it will collapse and the enemy will return immediately. Inside the body, a microscopic war rages. Killer cells hunt down bacteria, tearing them apart with their combat proteins, destroying them from the inside. White blood cells are like biological rocket launchers that fire guided missiles to destroy pathogens. No matter how many bacteria the swarm throws at it, it still fights back with the best defense strategy in the animal world. In just a few hours, the nightmare called bacteria was pushed back. The ancient monster had finally overcome the invisible attack, and now it could return to its true goal: love, a primal instinct as powerful as any hunt. Zama did not need the scales that sparkled in the sun. It did not need the sympathetic eyes of its fellow creatures. It was not beautiful by conventional standards, but it was the embodiment of an eternal truth. Through hundreds of millions of years, amid the mud and cold blood, it still stood there proudly, towering, the absolute master of the swamp. Because in this world, where the weak are swallowed and the slow are left behind, beauty lies not in form, but in the power to survive. Halfway around the world, another species has chosen to dominate through strength and size beyond imagination. Welcome to the Arnhem Coastal Reserve, a mystical part of northern Australia where mangroves, rivers and estuaries merge to form the domain of the largest predator that has ever lived on Earth: the estuarine crocodile. A giant figure surged from below like a nightmare built of muscle and instinct. The 40-kilogram kangaroo boar had no time to react. It just stood there and then disappeared. Just a bite, a drag. The feast began without warning, but that was only the beginning. What makes this reptile spine of any prey? Every twist, every throw, is not a spontaneous action, but a process programmed from millions of years of evolution. But the bite is just the beginning. The real hunt continues. Inside the predator, an adult crocodile can swallow nearly a quarter of its body weight, an amount unimaginable for any other carnivore. And then, inside that murky maw, a chemical storm begins. The crocodile's stomach acid is not only strong, it is one of the most corrosive substances in nature. But nature never operates perfectly. Tough parts like fur, nails, and thick skin cannot be broken down. Is this just instinct? Or is it a survival strategy encoded by millions of years of evolution?
Survived, not because they were the strongest, but because they were the most frugal. They can live for months without eating, and when given the chance, they digest their prey almost completely, from flesh to bone. But no matter how strong they are, crocodiles are still cold-blooded, and that makes them hostages of the sun. In solar panels, crocodile scales are filled with tiny capillaries, absorbing each ray of sun. The crocodile will open its mouth wide, not because it is attacking, but to cool down. That seemingly relaxed action is actually an extremely precise survival defense mechanism. And when you think it is sleeping, don't be foolish enough to approach. Because crocodiles have a special ability. The hemispheres of the brain alternate between resting. Half the brain rests, the other half remains awake with one eye still open, silently observing the world. That is why when all other creatures relax, the crocodile still lies there, motionless like a log, until